What is up? My name is Kyle. I'm with Danny, and we are talking Dawn of X once again on Podcast of X this week, specifically talking about X-Men issue number 2. Now, this is going to be an interesting, bizarre, somewhat quirky, but somewhat plot-heavy issue. Roller coaster of emotions in many ways. But last week we talked about fallen angels, and we were talking about how it's a weird one, right? It was interesting. It felt like X-Force in many ways, but I don't know its purpose in the greater Dawn of X story line.
Really just meant, it seemed like it was just meant to get like the new Psylocke back up to speed, I guess. I don't know.
Pretty much, we just if you're a Psylocke fan, this is it. This is your jam.
If you're original Psylocke fan,
original, yeah. So that's interesting. It was an interesting one, but today we're talking X-Men issue number 2. Are you ready to just dive into this orgy of an island disaster, if you will?
You mean the sitcom starring the Summers children called Summertime?
Summertime, children, Nathan and Rachel and Scott, just a family getting along, having a good time. There we go.
I'm wondering where this fits in with Fallen Angels. Is this like, does this go right after it? Because if Nathan's here, he literally just got done with all that stuff and is now doing this, or I thought he was supposed to be focusing on like trying to do stuff for Psylocke now.
Exactly. He was just on a mission. He's like, well, what's up, family? I was just out and about doing things with people with weird eyes. What do you want to do? And Scott's all like, there's this white guy with weird eyes. And he's all like, there's a lot of weird eyes in my life right now.
He's like, hey, try some of this overclock stuff. I hear it's great.
Yeah.
Doing some bookkeeping on that. I looked into that. The thing that we were thinking of is a different thing that was called like cortisone D or something, and it's called Kick, and that was the drug that gives the mutants enhancement. Overclock, that's some original drug-based content. But I mean, we're back on Hickman now, and that was what Brian, I believe, Hill. Brian Hill was the guy who wrote this, so we're now back on some Hickman story.
Yes, so the Hickman.
So get ready for some really elaborate plot building.
Yes. One thing I will say is Lionel Francis Yu, I'm not digging his artwork. I'm not liking his pencils too much. It feels too rough to me. And that's not a bad thing. It's just not like what I'm into at all. I'm not digging it as much as like RB Silva and Pepe. That was just
that stuff was amazing.
It hit on so many levels, like in terms of what I like in artwork and comic book artwork and line work and like just cross hatching and just
every like iconic image that was through the whole arc of House of X and Powers of X like stood out. A lot of this stuff is like kind of forgettable. Like it's good, it's technically like solid.
Yeah, absolutely.
But nothing is really over the top though. Nothing is really kind of unique.
I'm not a big fan of when like that cross hatching gets out of hand because it gives the appearance that everyone's kind of older, like old people almost. You know, when you cross hatch too much.
It does put like layer and grizzle on top of people. Like look all grizzly.
Indeed. But we started off with this issue. The first page is pretty straight and to the point. Scott walks in. We're met with Nathan and Rachel. They're all like, what's up? And he is pretty much like, there is an island quickly approaching Krakoa. And
making a beeline.
And they had some recon done, and the recon said that there's like these beasts and monsters on this planet, And pretty much the kids are like, you need help? You want us in on this mission? I'm down. I'm down. I want to shoot some stuff. Cable's like, yeah, let's shoot some stuff.
He's so excited to always just, he's like, I got guns, I got bullets, I got explosives, let's do it. I'm down. And then he's like, well, children, what I'm saying is, let's go kill some monsters on an island. Who wants to come?
Who wants to come, children? Who is
I
down
do.
for this outing? I do, I do, I do. Let's do it. That's pretty much pretty straight and to the point, and that's our kind of our opening page. Not a long, drawn out. Like Hickman usually has like 5 or 6 pages of a story build up before you get the title page, and it's like, damn, this just started.
Yeah, you forget that they haven't even really like led into the title yet. And with this one, it was he went quick with it. He was
quick
just like
to the point.
Like fucking Scott kicks in the door and he's like, "You kids want to shoot some monsters with me?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, cut to X-Men.
I like how like that both Rachel and Nathan have such like messed up childhoods that like taking them to an island and killing like estranged monsters is what constitutes as like a spending a day with their dad like
yeah.
for fun.
This is a family outing. Yeah.
This is the closest that Scott can get to like taking them to the zoo, because like it would be too like mundane to them. Like Nathan would be like, "This is boring." And Scott's like, "Well, I'm going to take you to a zoo where the zoo bites back." Like, this is going to be crazy.
Indeed. And we're going to get those family moments throughout this like whole issue where they're just, even in battle, they're thrown around like trying to connect almost in many ways throughout this issue.
Scott like walking like off screen and then coming back in with like cotton candy and like popcorn, and he's like, "You kids having a good day?" And they're like, "We're having the best day, Dad."
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, we have this giant island slowly approaching Krakoa. Charles is dead, and the island, like, security is clearly down.
I like how Scott refers to that as that whole context of what's happening as the drama that is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just some drama.
Yeah, it's like that. Hickman is doing his best to really just put the brakes on the fucking whole just characters dying in comics trope. He's just like, that's just drama we're dealing with.
Yeah. It's not a death. It's not dramatic. It's not life changing. It's just a thing.
Yeah, just some heat that's gonna breeze over.
Yeah, not a big deal at all. So then we cut to them kind of flying off, right?
Yeah.
And we get kind of like this dialogue from Cable. He's just like, "Look at my gun. I got this cool gun. I got it from Raza. Check it out. It's awesome. I got some grenades too, some thermal grenades. You want to check out my grenades?" It's pretty much just like, you wanted to look at my balls. Look at my balls. It's just weird because he's talking to his family.
Yeah, it's really strange, and it almost feels like they're just like humoring him and like just like kind of just going with the flow of just like, okay, that's cool. While like Scott's like licking his wounds because he's just like, man, the only person who could talk to islands is in space, and why did I let Doug go into space? Mm-hmm. It seems kind of dumb that the one person that's like our direct communication to Krakoa and maybe any other sentient living island that may show up is now gone. So
not on planet right now. And that sucks because he could have been very helpful during this whole situation. But nope.
Yeah, he probably would have breezed it over.
He's like, "Guys, it's fine. Everything's fine. Just let them do their thing. It'll play out." But nope.
Especially the communication part that comes up in just a few minutes here. But I mean, now we transition to this amazing Cthulhu shot that is probably the standout. Like this part stands out. Like I remembered this part coming back and like reading this again. Like I remembered this scene before I even got to it. The rest of the scenes I didn't. Even like some of the character design models, I was just like thinking in my head, I was like, what does that guy look like again? Mm-hmm. And then I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, you were kind of forgettable. You were really bland. But like this part, I was just like, oh shit, it's like Cthulhu rising up out of a volcano.
Out of a volcano with lightning coming out of it. It's a pretty epic shot. I dig this whole, it's a one-page panel, or one-panel page. And it's just this giant island spewing forth this tentacle monster. And what does Cable say?
I should have thought of it. I should have brought a bigger gun.
Should have brought a bigger gun.
Like the really like generic movie cliche line. We're gonna need more guns. You're gonna need a bigger gun. You don't got enough explosives.
Yes, you gotta talk like this when you say that.
Obviously.
Yeah. So they land on the island, and we see Rachel kind of is like, oh, and she notices that there's intelligent wildlife. Is that what she says? There's like low intelligent wildlife.
She does like a quick psychic scan of the island to kind of determine the level of intelligence, and she says that it's just relatively low to like basic intelligence on the island, like nothing that's out of the norm. But then she does pick up on one thing particular that seems like kind of off, and that's where they begin their journey, their safari, if you will.
Yeah.
But instead of machetes to cut down brush and bramble, we've got Scott's optic blast.
We got optic beams. Yeah, not a big deal. So we cut to later, 2 hours from contact with Krakoa. So I don't think we've ever had like a ticking time limit since this point. I don't know why they felt the need to go like, there's only 2 hours left before they make contact. I don't think that really played into the story. There wasn't really a ticking time bomb speed limit. Everyone felt not rushed whatsoever.
Does it mean 2 hours from when they contacted Krakoa? Like the last time?
Oh, is that what it means? I thought it would meant like it's until 2 hours until the two islands kind of impact or meet together.
Oh, okay. I can see that. That makes sense. Okay. That 2 hours till they physically breach, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
To be more PG. Ooh, contact, you say. I know what you mean by contact, Hickman. I'm on you. But yeah, they were just roaming around in these brush for 2 hours until finally Scott was like, enough is enough. Yeah. I hope he did it in the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or Marvel vs. Capcom style voice of just like optic blast.
Yeah.
He's all chill and like normal and like talking, and then all of a sudden he gets this like monotone echoey voice, and like Rachel is like, what was that about? And he's like, it's just a habit. I can't drop it.
It's just a thing I do. Yeah. I'm sorry. Just let it be.
It since I was indoctrinated into the X-Men, okay?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Charles started me on this like 20 years ago. Just let it be. But they're just kind of walking through. Cable kind of mentions it looks like Hawaii, and they kind of banter, but then they run into this weird rhino thing in the words of Scott. And it just looks like a regular rhino with like an eye, a third eye almost.
It kind of looks like a combination of like a water buffalo a little bit, like kind of those big horns on the top. It's like they took a couple of weird, big grazing type like animals like that and just kind of threw it together. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if they threw some elephant tusks on there and just hit the whole trifecta. It's like how many facial bone accessories can we throw on this creature? Screw it. But I mean, it's like a lot of the Krakoan animals too. Like they have that weird problem where they're just like we were talking about before. They're just like a chimera of other animals.
Yes.
With the third eye, like you said, which that's probably one of the weirdest ones yet.
Mm-hmm. And Cable's just like, I'm gonna shoot it. And right as he pulls the gun, it's met with a bigger monster. This giant snake tentacle thing that kind of looks like a Stranger Things monster a little bit.
Or like something from like Stephen King's like The Mist.
Oh yeah, The Mist. Man, that ending was fucked up.
Oh yeah, that was probably one of the worst endings in a movie. I mean, not like worst isn't bad, but more like fucked up endings. It was like probably one of the most like just like, oh wow.
Yep.
That kind of also saved the movie too, because it made it a little more like unique. God.
Yeah, I agree.
And these are totally mist like creatures because it's like they're all like weird tentacles that open up into a bunch of like teeth.
Yeah, and it just snatches this water buffalo monster thing.
I felt kind of sad. I was like, oh, poor water buffalo.
Poor water. Yeah.
Can we take a moment to acknowledge that like there's something up with like kind of like the mentality of Cable? Like he feels, I guess that's maybe they're trying to be comical with it, but it almost makes me concerned. Like, does he have like the mental demeanor of a child?
He's definitely they're trying to make him out as younger and less experienced, but it comes off weird sometimes.
Like the cocky young gun, but it's like
Yeah.
but he's supposed to be like a child of war. Like even if he's not like the old Cable that's more experienced, he's still like we estimated he still faced like 16, 17 years of like war. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's I don't even understand how that wouldn't translate to him being a little more like level-headed. He's just like we'll see even more. Like I'm kind of already getting ahead of myself because like
Oh
they really
yeah,
ham up on that in the
they
next
do.
few transitions that happen with like his character and what he does. You start to go like, what's going on with Cable here?
Right. So yeah, the water buffalo gets eaten, and Cable's just like, damn. And then they kind of unleash on the guy, and
Family bonding moment where they're
family
trying to
bonding moment where they meet
discover a new
like,
species and trying to wipe it out.
yeah, what a lovely, lovely time. But we cut to the Arakama. And what's happening in the Arakama? What's happening is we're met with this white guy, just a white guy.
I think he's albino, right?
Yeah, he's an albino for sure.
But his eyes are bleeding black, like
his eyes are bleeding black.
Like he's fucked up on overclock.
Overclock, man. You took too much of that overclock, man. You better watch yourself.
You're burnt out. You're overheating. You need more thermal paste.
Yeah. Reapply that processor, man.
Yeah.
Get on that. And essentially, he's like, he's trying to find someone, right? He's trying to find someone, essentially. And he's like, yo, I'm looking for, I think he even mentions it his mother.
Yeah, that seems like who he's talking to in that weird void with the fire.
Yeah, with the weird void. Yeah.
It looks like what I'm seeing is it looks like a pair of shoulders with like a head. Like there's like some weird epilepsy on top of like that's like the frame of like their clothing that's kind of giving the outline of their shoulders. And then in the center, it's like a burning head that's kind of going up. And I mean, they refer to some kind of like nods to like this is the mother that the person is talking to. Like,
yeah.
it says mother please and like all this kind of stuff. So I feel like that person is in some other location or some sort of special realm. Like since we find out later on that this person has the ability to summon things and access different realms, maybe that's where that other person's at. Like the realms where all these creatures are coming from. I don't know. They don't really touch on that part too much, but there's definitely like some weird connection between them besides them just being related. There's some deeper connection going on here, and that's why the island is moving. Is it's kind of tied to these people.
Yeah, and we cut to essentially information on what a summoner is, and essentially a summoner of Araco. They kind of protect the island. They are the people who protect the beasts and kind of ward off any wars or hostility towards the island. And we learn about 3 different types of summoners. So Summoner Minor is able to summon a single host or minor demon, right? So you got one Pokemon. That's it. It's like a level 10. But it doesn't even know like anything outside of like Scratch or like Tackle.
Okay. Splash.
Yeah, or Splash.
Useless bastard.
Then we move on to Summoner Adept. A Summoner Adept is able to summon a small horde of minor demons or one major elemental. So, has like either like 20 Rattatas or one Nidoqueen.
Hey, that'd be scary if you got swarmed by like a mob of Rattata.
Sure. Yeah, that'd frighten me.
They'd be gnawing at your flesh and stuff. And
just like, no, stop.
It's like a swarm of rats. But it's all about the high summoner with the ability to sit through any bad movie and make it slightly enjoyable. What is with this whole arc of like different summoners? Like there's the one summoner. Like why is there like a
hierarchies of summoners?
I mean I get that that's like a history that they're trying to convey, but from what I pull and how this like is explained, there only really seems to be there was just the one summoner.
The one guy, yeah.
Yeah, and his mom.
And his
Like
mom.
so and I mean, is he really a summoner or isn't he kind of a mutant, right? Because I mean,
Yeah, well,
not to
he's like
spoil things too
a.
much, but I mean,
I guess you could say he's like a byproduct of being a mute. So,
he
okay,
could be a because usually the children born of mutants is a mutant, and
typically.
yeah, spoilers.
Yes, we'll elaborate further. But moving on, literally, we cut again, and now we see the family riding these rhino beasts. And they're having a lovely time. They're just enjoying the sights.
no explanation on how they tame these beasts. I mean, maybe Rachel's is like guiding them. I would assume that's the quick like turnaround. But yeah, it's just like without any issues, no saddles, no nothing. They're just riding these weird wannabe wildebeest creatures.
And they're still bantering more or less as they're writing these things. And as this happens, as they're writing, as Cable's just talking about his guns more or less still, and Rachel's just like, come on, get out of here. Scott's all like, we got company dead ahead. And as they pull into this kind of plains, we see this guy with his back turned, this albino that we saw earlier. And they try to just chilling, hanging out. And it's trying to communicate with them. They're trying to communicate with each other, kind of. And they can't understand each other, or can they?
No, because I think it's got a Rachel comments that the sounds like it's singing, and it's which is kind of funny because it's got that creepy looking like passage. So it's like if it's singing while it talks, like it has that kind of sound that just makes it kind of eerie, like a banshee.
Oh, yeah.
Almost. But to the summoner, or I guess he would be considered a high summoner, right? Because that's considered the ranking. Oh, look! If you go back to the summoner breakdown, it says that there's currently one high summoner, currently 8 summoner adepts, and then currently 250.
Yes.
Originally there was 600 and then 30 of the summoner adepts, and then 3 high summoners. Okay, so maybe there are more summoners still on the island. Okay, that's probably something that they'll go into probably in the next X-Men or something later on. But okay, yes. So he is the high summoner.
He is the high summoner. He has the logo of the high summoner on his chest.
Oh, true. So he probably has like a different understanding of language since he grew up on this island. And to them, to him, they sound like they're grunting, like kind of how like a primate would. Right. So I guess he kind of could pick up on like their evolutionary traits of like where they originally came from, going back to like Homo superior and all that, and Homo sapien and Homo habilis.
And as this is happening, Cable's just like, I got an idea.
Oh God.
Let's give it something. And he just walks up to it and he gives it a gift. And the gift that he gives it is just a thermal bomb.
Detonator, like a Star Wars style like thermal detonator. Like so it's like not just a bomb, but like a fucking like a dope bomb, like ridiculously powerful.
And he's just all like, I just wanted to give him a weapon. I thought he would like it. And what does the summoner do when he gets this weapon?
Immediately blows it up.
He's just like, okay, I'm going to push this. And that's kind of what happens when you give someone that doesn't even know how to communicate with you yet a giant thermal detonator.
Look at that explosion panel. Like Scott is thrown into the fetal position.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. They get whipped back.
He's filleting himself there in midair.
I don't know if they survived that.
Yeah, what the fuck? Just
honestly.
Like, I feel like this is like a Looney Tunes episode or something. What's going on?
It kind of is. The tone of it is so bizarre.
So tongue-in-cheek, like, is just like, whoop, 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 whoop. Sorry about that, guys. I just blew up the guy that, like, runs this island. Like, we're trying to make peace and extend the olive branch, and I give him... It's like, I get it. So in Cable's mindset, that's, like, his most prized possession. So he's trying to show peace by saying, like, this is what I love most. I'm giving it to you to like kind of extend the olive branch. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, his military tactician side and even Scott's should be like, no, man, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Disarm it or something. Like, don't just give him a live thermal grenade. Like,
Right.
how is he? You can't even communicate with him. So how's he supposed to know not to just push one button and blow it up? You gave him something with a button and sit here, and then you're shocked he blew himself up.
Yeah.
Like what? What a weird plot device that Hickman's writing into this.
I don't. It's.
I mean, it's funny, so I'll give it that.
Funny.
But still,
It is funny.
very unorganic.
And then Rachel and Nathan kind of just bicker a little bit, and even Scott even has like this weird like quippy line where he's just like, "Kids, let's stop arguing. It's time to do the other thing." Yeah. It's just like everyone's on board with this quippiness. It's just like it's a very like 2019 thing to say. It's time to do the thing.
In, like a weird sitcom mode. There's like a bubble around the Summers like children and Scott, and they're all like stuck in this weird family sitcom bubble that's like pushing its way through reality. Like this guy's just living on his island trying to enjoy life, and they're showing up like causing their like nonsense. He's like, what is that weird laugh track I keep hearing?
Right? Why do people keep plotting?
I could just be like, kids, let's stop arguing. And you hear the audience go, "Aw." He's like, I must kill you. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. I'm stuck in this weird fourth wall.
Yeah. But as they're bickering, and as Scott tries to get them to focus, the summoners lie. "Don't you know who I am? I am the summoner, bitch." Even though they don't understand what it's saying, but Summoner's mad. Summoner goes, "I do summoner things now. You deal with summoner things," and it resurrects, or not resurrects, but summons an octopus monster, a crab monster, and a shadow man.
Yeah. Holgordur, the vanquished god.
Yeah.
He summons a god.
Straight up.
A god who is like so stuck in subterfuge. It's even worse than Magneto's face. It's just his symbol is the only thing that is lit.
The symbol in his eyes.
Yeah, I guess his eyes, but he's like completely shadow.
Yeah.
It's because he's vanquished. He's like the shell of himself. He's lost all the color in his cheeks. And then one is just literally a giant octopus, like a kraken. He summons a kraken.
Yeah, straight up a kraken. And this is where he first says, "For I am son of Rocco, a defender of the keep. One does not attack me and live." And this is out there kind of battling. And even though they don't understand what he's saying, we as the reader understand that this is a being from Rocco, and we've discussed Rocco a little bit in House of X, right?
Yes, yeah, they had that whole thing about like Apocalypse's past and how they flushed it out.
Exactly, and at one point, Krakoa was two islands, Rocco and Krakoa, and they split off. And during a battle, Apocalypse summoned the four horsemen and banished Rocco.
Yes, to kind of deal with
I forget the dimension that they banished it to.
Yeah, to kind of deal with the demon problem and all the nonsense.
To deal with all the demons, yes. Yeah. And we're seeing that kind of circle back now. We're seeing the outcome of what happened to Rocco. So the battle continues. Cable's like, "I got guns. I also got a knife." And they're just battling. Now there's two shadowy monsters that Scott's kind of taking on. And he's kind of, go ahead.
Vanquished gods. More
vanquished gods.
Holgordur. Which I don't know how that works. I thought there was only one vanquished god. Maybe the vanquished god splits. Oh, because he hits him with the optic beam. Like the optic blast, and it cuts him down the center. And it
splits in half, and becomes two beings. Okay.
That's fancy. I like that Cable's knife fighting with a kraken.
Right? All this talk about guns, and you whip out a knife.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's getting frustrating.
And then Scott makes the whole like realization that like, oh wait, why are we trying to forcefully talk to this like person when we've been downloading languages into people's minds for like the last, freaking month or like 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Since we've accepted the island, like, oh, let's do that. Why don't we just do that from the start?
Yeah.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and Scott's just all like, Rachel, execute program 4532. And she's all like, got it, on it. And then bam. And then he's all like, yo, what's up? I understand you. What the fuck is up with dabbing? I don't get your culture.
What are these memes? I don't understand.
Why do you like cats so much? What is up with this? What's going on? And then so now they understand the being. The Kraken
Cable lost his knife fight.
Yeah, Cable lost his knife fight. The Kraken has him kind of surrounded, covered. And what is it saying? It's pretty much just saying that it loves someone.
Me up, asshole?
Yeah, it said like, "Why are you trying to destroy me?" And he's just like, "Present. It was a present. Bad present, but and more or less, he's just all like, do you love someone?" And he's just like, whoa, we took this to a whole different level.
Yeah, because he's like asking about the island and like what's going on. It's like why is your island like ramping up towards ours, and what's the deal with all the tentacles in the fiery volcano, man?
Yeah, and no, it should be mentioned that during this battle, Scott had a moment where he's just like, the island, it's like T-minus a certain amount of time till the island's impact, right? And then right as he says, cut back to the summoner where he's just like, do you love someone? And then Scott's all like, and then the summoner's like, you want to be with them, yes? And he's like, of course. And then he's just like, all right, check this out. And then we see this awesome, like, full width spread of the two islands coming together, and we see their foliage kind of intertwining and combining, and then we see Rachel's just all like, are they doing this? Are they really doing this? And then Scott's just like, I don't want to know. And then we got Cable just kind of half covering his face, where he's just like, I don't want to see this, but I want to see this.
This is getting a little steamy in here. Like, wow, like these islands were quick at it. They were like, we made it. Now we're here. Let's fuck.
And then
chicka bow wow. Like the flowers are there for the symbolism.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're flowering hard on each other.
Yeah, blooming hard up in here.
So awkward.
And Cable's, this is a great line from Scott. We got Cable's just like, what was that? And Scott goes, well, son, I think that's how all my best mistakes have happened. And that is the greatest burn I've seen Scott do, I think.
Yeah, look at Rachel's face.
Rachel's
she's just like you motherfucker.
I'm not even from your time, bitch. I'm from the days of future that's past. Yes. Don't you understand? I don't have to deal with this. I'll go back to that fucking apocalypse land, that wasteland.
Yeah, poor Scott. He's always got to raise like all these time displaced children of his.
I know.
There's so many deadbeat Scotts out there. But 616 Scott, he's the number one dad right there.
He is best pops. And the summoner's just like, the two are now one, as they should be, as they always were. And then
been together like Pangea.
They do. They did go back together, and it becomes one island. And now the summoner's just all like, I have to find him. He lives here. Right? Oh wait.
Yeah, he's like, where are you going? It's like, well, I live here now, and I have to find him because he lives here, and that's what I'm going to do. And then he walks off, and he's trying to be vague, but we know who he's talking about.
We know who he's talking about. Do you know? We'll find out in a few minutes. But we cut to the next page where we see the map of Krakoa, or what it is now, Krakoa plus Iraq. And we see the formation of the Iraq Maw, essentially, which is I guess the connection, the docking station of that connected to Krakoa.
Oh, it docked.
Oh, it docked. It was hot.
So should we call it Krakoa Raka?
Krakoa Raka, right? Krakoa Raka. Krakorak? Krakorak?
Crack. Did we get that nice little, like, was it that little cryptographic view of where the island breaks down, like where the Red Keep is, and Blackstone, and the White Palace, Hellfire Bay, and then the Ark Maw.
The Iraq Maw. But what is everyone else doing while this is happening? Like, we have all of the mutant nation kind of on this island. Like, what is their reaction to, like, hey, what's going on? Is this an earthquake? Oh no, why is this island touching our island? What's going on?
Yeah, that is kind of funny. I mean, maybe the stuff going down with the drama with Charles being shot in the face, like maybe they're focused on that, and this is just like another thing. I don't know. It seems like if a whole island was moving towards your sovereign nation, it would be something that you would prep for in, like, the form of, like, prepping for war. Mm-hmm. Like the whole island would be on alert and be there and be like, okay. But instead, it's just like, oh, the islands, they now have merged, and this dude just entered the island, and no one did anything to stop him or really care. It's a very out of place. Like, everything feels out of character. Like, it's funny, and I like the responses people gave, but, like, the actions and the motivations of everyone is kind of, like, way off.
It's a little off, right?
Yeah.
It's
funny. Some don't sit right.
Yeah, it does not. It makes me question a lot of things. So we cut to later, and we see the summoner walking around. And who does the summoner run into? The person we all suspected, none other than Apocalypse. Good old Apocalypse, or A, as we like to call him these days.
The symbol.
The symbol, A, yeah.
The mutant formerly known as the symbol.
Yeah.
Dude, coming out of that shadows too,
just
like
straight up, just creeping out of the bushes, man.
Just like he was always there. He's like, yes.
And he's just like, we've never met, but I would recognize your seat anywhere.
Yeah, he's got that scent on him.
He's like, I smell you. I smell my kind. And we find out who the children are, pretty much, more or less, as they're talking. And he's just like, I am a children of war. That's what he keeps saying.
A child. I guess child.
Yeah.
But not in like a metaphorical way, but no, in a literal way.
Literal way, referring to the
Horsemen
of War. Yes. And what we kind of slowly uncover as they're talking is that the horsemen from the past that we learned about in that past battle when Krakoa and Araco split initially, and he formed his 4 horsemen, that those 4 horsemen survived, remained on Araco, and pretty much moved on with life, fucked, and evolved, which had children. And we have these like weird, the summoners are a product of the horsemen.
I think just war, though, right?
Just war, the product of the Horsemen of War.
Yeah, like I think that flaming-headed creature with like the dope epaulets in that portal, that was the mother, which was War.
Gotcha. And
she, I guess, went on to populate the island with summoners, maybe, or maybe this one summoner created more summoners. I don't know. Like that, they haven't really touched on that enough to really make any sense. You just know that like. It's kind of like would that make Apocalypse his grandfather?
Yeah.
I mean, quasi, I guess, because like Apocalypse creates the Horsemen in a way, or sires them into being.
Exactly. So yes, he's a grandpappy.
There's a touching moment right here where they hug. That's where you
Yeah.
cue like the audience, like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Touching moment.
It's
Cue the
very
credits.
touching.
Fade to
And
black.
Apocalypse is just like, for me to save all my children, those of Krakoa and those of Araco. And then they embrace. And what an embrace.
Yeah, it's a very soft moment for Apocalypse. They definitely are painting him, doing their best to paint him in a softer and more genuine light in
Even
this whole.
though, look at him embracing the summoner, and then his like buff ass left arm with that giant vein popping out is juxtaposing this soft moment.
Yeah, yeah, dude, he's veined up as shit. Like
Dude,
he's like ready to
yeah.
just shoot up some heroin or
He's
something.
ready. He's
Yeah,
ready for that. He's ready for the steroids.
the width of his vein is as big as the summoner's nose.
It is. It's intense.
It's like exactly you can measure it as like a parallel across from it. It's such a funny like thing to note. I didn't really notice it before.
Mm-hmm.
But now that you pointed it out, it's like holy shit, that thing is popping
Right?
mass.
It's giant.
Why is he so yoked right now and flexed?
Right?
Like he's just like, ah, God,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you back in the family. Calm down, Apocalypse. It's okay. I'm touched too, but like, you need to chill out.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, definitely a funny like way for them to portray Apocalypse because he's usually a very cold and uncompassionate
Exactly.
character, and they're showing him as like a nurturing kind of caregiver, and like he seems more sympathetic and understanding.
Yes. It's interesting. It's a different change. Is he gonna remain this way? Probably not. I mean, we've already seen hints of him pulling strings, so this is probably just another string being pulled. Or is it?
It's possible, or this could have been like maybe this was a genuine like outcome that Apocalypse was aiming for the whole time, and he never really meant. I don't know, but I mean, he always went by the name Apocalypse, so it's like, what is your agenda when you're gonna wear that kind of moniker? Like, I
Sure.
know, I get that he's changed and he's trying to say he goes by a new kind of moniker, and maybe that's like the saving grace to all this is that, like, yeah, no, he is a different person. That's why he's going by a different name.
Yeah.
But still, at the same time, it's like if you've been setting this up over like eons or decades, I mean, or like hundreds of years, however you want to break it down, he 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 kind of did it in a real dickish way. Like he didn't have to like, always rest on the laurels of genocide and
Absolutely, yeah.
try to use that as his go-to to fix things. Oh, they're not strong enough. Wipe it out. Survival of the fittest. I read some book written by this guy called Darwin, and he really, really, really spoke to me.
Boy, that Darwin and his finches, man.
His
His
damn
birds.
finches. If only Darwin could have met actual mutant Darwin, then he would have lost his mind.
Right?
Like this doesn't make any sense. You're like my concept, but turned to 11.
Straight
Fucking
up.
A.
So they embrace, and that is actually it. We conclude. This is how this issue ends with this warm and questionable embrace. And that ends this issue of X-Men, issue number 2. Now, what did you like? We've talked a lot about the weird tone, the weird behaviors of characters, the awkward sitcom attitude, but anything stand out positive for you in this issue? For me, I think it's just those epic. That's one thing that I love about this artist, about you, is that those sketches of the actual islands of Morocco and Krakoa are amazing. I dig those panels a lot.
Yeah, yeah. What I appreciated about what Art was like conveying was a sense of like grandeur, a sense of big expansiveness.
Yes.
But I get what you meant with like a lot of the cross hatching issues, making characters look a little too like weathered, a little too many winters like on their face.
Yeah.
Even though they're supposed to be a little more young and vibrant. And like that kind of art style did lend itself well to like the combat and like the action panels, a lot
Sure.
of that stuff. But I think I really enjoyed more or the most out of this is the the flushing out of the Apocalypse mythos and like this lineage tied to the Horsemen and like what they've done over the time in which they've been a part of, I guess, Earth while Apocalypse was off doing his own nonsense. Though it still feels like kind of a bit of a weird misplaced retcon, because it's like, all right, well, if all this stuff was going on in the background while Apocalypse still had multiple moments where he rose back to power, like how come none of this ever came up during all those times, you know? I mean, this supposedly had been set in motion, or this island had been colonized by like the Horsemen of War and these summoners, you know, that's like thousands of years ago. So how come now? I mean, is it because Krakoa finally returned that this island is now returning? Like, is that the whole kind of fix to that canon issue, that like plot hole, if you will? But
I guess, yeah. I
mean,
mean,
aside from that, it's still cool though.
Story's got a story.
Yeah, I mean, I still appreciate that they're still like, you know, pulling this out because it fits to at least to like what the characters of like Apocalypse's like Rogues Gallery and Horsemen would do. Like they would be involved in some weird kind of like, I guess you could say, colonizational type control. As I mean, with the other, excuse me, Horsemen of the Apocalypse, when like Angel became the new Apocalypse after stepping up, he kind of did something similar as well. He had children. He went on and like created new horsemen and all this other stuff, and it was kind of like just the legacy continuing on. So this seems like a little bit more of that, and that's what I liked most about this issue, is that it kind of played on that kind of the strengths of Apocalypse's history.
But who did War fuck? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, if it's anything like these islands banging, who knows, man?
Right? It has to be something related to, maybe it's just the island itself.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so going back to what we were talking about earlier about how like, okay, so does that make the summoner a mutant? And if the summoner's a mutant, then how come all the other summoners have the same powers? And it's like, is that just how could War create children that do this power? Like, is that the power of like the Horsemen of War? Is that she can create a kid that has the ability to summon demons? And is that realm that she's in, that realm with the demons, you know?
Yeah.
Like, are these just the extension of her like biological ecosystem? It's weird. Like, I like that, but this is also classic Hickman writing. Like, this is creating more questions at the beginning than answers, and then as we're still going along, I mean, this is X-Men 2, so we're getting even more questions. Even though they answered a bunch, they gave us twice as many questions as we got answers.
This is a Hickman run. You think you're gonna walk away with some satisfied answers? Nah, man. Questions, more questions. You're gonna be wondering. Your curiosity is gonna be hitting 11 hard.
Yeah. And I mean, the storyline seems kind of railroaded. Like the progression is going to go on no matter what. So it's like all these weird stick and like fourth wall moments seem like they're kind of just there to break up the or not even the monotony, but the tension and the progression. But it still feels weird because it's just like it's out of place. Like it's bouncing off this like wall that's around the story that's trying to progress. It's like they literally blew everyone up. Like everyone literally got blown up. But it was like we said, it was like a cartoon Looney Tunes moment where like a bomb went off in your hand and you're just like, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Everyone okay? Yeah, we're okay. Maybe lost some teeth. Who knows?
Yeah. Just brushed off the dirt and got up, kept on going.
I am super intrigued about like seeing more of the other summoners, like and how.
Yeah, I want to see how they work. Yeah, I want to see how the low level summoners work, because I'm sure we're gonna get some weird kind of interactions and conflicts with low level summoners and mutants in the future.
And maybe that'll be like an all-out war at some point. That'd be cool. Like summoners versus mutants.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm glad they're kind of fleshing out the whole mythos behind Krakoa and whatnot. It's interesting. What became just like an island that was alive is so much more now to the X-Men mythos.
Yeah, it was already kind of like a weird, like, kind of plot device for the longest time. It was It really just served as like the backdrop so they could transition into giant size X-Men.
Giant size X-Men, yeah.
That's really all it was, and it became kind of like a bit of a I don't know, I guess you could say a burden. It's so much to the point that they threw it into space. They just got rid of it. They were just like, fuck Krakoa, we're gonna launch it into space.
Yeah.
And then that became a whole weird story with like Deadly Genesis and like Vulcan and all that. The other one of the Summer's children. Or Summer's brothers.
Summer's brother, yeah.
Yeah. His own spin-off sitcom, watch out.
Watch out,
But,
summertime.
Summertime too. But yeah, like I like that this seems to be a lot more concrete and a lot more interesting. As bizarre as it is definitely more interesting than Krakoa just being kind of violent. Do you remember at one point? I just remembered they moved Krakoa to like the new Xavier school. It was like when they renamed it like the Jean Grey school when like Wolverine was like headmaster and all that terrible nonsense.
Yeah, when they split the schism after schism.
Yeah, all that schism stuff. Yeah, wasn't Krakoa there at the school like on the grounds? That's when they like revealed it was a mutant and they like brought it onto the like the property.
Yes, I believe so. It was just hanging out in like the garden.
See, like I just like that stuff so much that I just now remember that. Like in my head, I was just like, "Oh yeah, I remember reading that." It was all that. That was weird. It was kind of reminded me of like Harry Potter and stuff. Like
a little bit. Yeah.
Like they're kind of taken from it. Like I like this better because at least it being an island makes more sense instead of them being like, "Well, we planted like a cocoa tree, and it's now here protecting the school." Oh man, J.K. Rowling's gonna sue somebody.
What do you think of the design of the summoner, the High Summoner?
I like it, but it seems like it's gonna be kind of bland compared to all the other summoners because they're all gonna have that. They're all probably gonna be like albinos with weird, like black energy melting out of their eyes, and they're all gonna have their generic symbols. So it's like if he would just look like that and he was the only one, then that would be fine. But I have a feeling there's going to be a bunch of people that look like him and just have different symbols. And that's where it's going to be like, oh, your uniqueness has now just been halved by, or like subtracted by like 100th. Literally.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of weird. But still, I mean, first glance seeing him, I was just like, oh, this guy looks menacing and interesting. Like there's a lot of like ambiguity going on here. I like that. That's got me intrigued.
Yeah. Yes, intriguing things up ahead. I'm excited. Kind of. I'm getting more hesitant as we move along. Excitement, but yet a slow kind of wall being built up of like I know where this is going. I'm seeing you guys. I'm seeing what you're doing. You're spreading yourself a little thin. And this has been done before.
I think pace and pace. They've both been keeping pace with each other. It's my concern and my intrigue. Like my intrigue is growing, but also my concern is growing. Like they're both neck and neck with each other with these. I guess you could say last 4 or 5 issues that I've dove into. Like every issue, I've got like more intrigue, but then also I'm just like, so maybe X-Force. X-Force, I have to say now going back on it being 100% objective. Like I like that, like, and I'm real happy with that. And if they keep that going that way, I have no concern. Yeah. My concern is just dying down. But with everything else, like X-Men issue 1, I already had a lot of concern because I was just like, well, this is really weird. This like kind of shoehorn, like sitcom-y development, which kind of continued on. But now in X-Men, they had more of a story progression instead of just like everyone's getting caught up. There's now like, okay, now the story's moving forward. So now my intrigue is growing again, but the concern's still there because that writing of the characters has not changed. It's still kind of slapsticky.
I get you. Yeah.
And New Mutants has that problem as well. And definitely Fallen Angels has that issue where it's like trying to be an X-Force, but isn't quite, and has a lot of weird character development that you're just like, man. Well, I mean, Cable has the same problem in Fallen Angels as he does in this. So it's prevalent through a lot of issues.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have any agency whatsoever.
Correct. Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. It's like he's lacking in that kind of form. The more I miss the old Cable. I do.
Do you?
I do.
He's dead. He got shot by this guy.
I gotta read the arc of why he kills him.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to kill him to prevent this time nonsense from happening, and then he stayed around to make sure that the time nonsense will happen again. It's essentially he popped up. He's all like, "All right, you're dead. You guys have been fucking around with time too much, and I'm gonna be staying around making sure this doesn't happen again.
Which is confusing though, because then like, how would he know? Because he's younger, but wouldn't like. I don't know if we ever talked about it, but there was like this whole arc where they like explained in the past that like it was Cable's technovirus that like leaked into Apocalypse's blood, and it was like Cable going back in time trying to kill Apocalypse that essentially created Apocalypse and made like this weird like time loop.
It was I don't get it.
Yeah, and it's like
that's a paradox,
is Cable,
by the way.
Yeah, like a paradox. Yeah, exactly, like a time paradox. Exactly. Like and now it's like, are we in another one of those with young Cable? Was he creating a weird time paradox by like?
It's like a shitty movie Looper by Rian Johnson.
Oh yeah, Looper. Good God. With Joseph's Gordon-Levitt.
and his nose. His nose was was its own actor in that movie.
I don't know why, but people were like, he pulled off a good young Bruce Willis, and I was like, no, he didn't. He was just Joseph Gordon-Levitt
with the nose.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt with a funny nose. That's it. I was like, he ran up fooling me. Like if I would have saw them in public, I would never be like, oh, those two are related. It must be his son. No, like you can't suspend disbelief like that. But whatever. You know, like it's just one of those kind of like plots that just don't make sense. And that had an even worse time travel paradox. It's like we have to send people back in time to murder them because murdering people is so difficult, but then all of a sudden we're going to murder someone, and then the whole plot of the movie is just falling out beneath you. Fuck that movie.
Fuck.
But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with Cable later on, if he's ever going to grow out of being immature or being childish, or if that's just how they want to write him now. Like if that's his persona, is he's just like, I'm a badass and I've got the mentality of a 5-year-old.
Who knows? Who knows? Only time will tell. And by time, I mean, linear time, not this like weird X-Men time. But we will find out. And then next week, we are going back to Excalibur. Excalibur issue number 2. But that concludes this week's issue of X-Men. Real quick, just a shout out. We're doing, or I should say, I am doing a X23 Laura short that's coming out soon. Shout out to L Little Witch Cosplay. She does an amazing X23 cosplay. Highly recommend you checking out her work. So be on the lookout for that. Be sure to follow us on all of the socials. Be sure to subscribe. And remember, Danny, this is more directed towards you. The robots will kill you. Don't you know that?
It's true.
It's true.
I don't trust my Roomba.
I don't trust my Roomba. Yeah. But that'll do it this week, folks. Catch you next week. Peace.